I never received it. Those 4 words cut right through the clinking glasses and the loud music at the rooftop celebration. Our Chief Executive Officer, Vance Sterling, had just raised his glass to toast my $20,000 performance bonus. Everyone cheered and clapped, expecting me to smile, but I just stared at him across the terrace and spoke the absolute truth. The entire party died instantly as the color drained directly from his face. The silence that followed was heavy and uncomfortable. Before I tell you how his face dropped, do me a quick favor and hit that subscribe button so you never miss another crazy story. Also, let me know in the comments right now which country you are watching this video from. Our financial director, Harrison, almost dropped his drink while the human resources head, Brenda, began coughing nervously into her napkin. Vance tried to laugh it off with his typical fake smile, claiming that the payroll department must have delayed the processing. I told him calmly that I checked my account right before coming and nothing was there. I set my full glass down and walked out, leaving them in pure panic. I did not get to my position by making loud scenes or shouting in meetings. I was the quiet engineer who built the operational framework of the entire company from scratch. While the executives played golf and took credit for my hard work, I quietly documented everything. Months ago, I saved a hidden folder containing internal memos, budget shifts, and weird transactions. I knew how these people operated, and I was fully prepared for the moment they decided to get greedy. Before going to bed that night, I sent a single email to legal with a brief subject line about invoking Clause 7.4. I wrote that specific safeguard into my employment contract 3 years ago during a major company restructuring. The human resources team never actually read it, and Vance signed it without thinking while eating lunch on a video call. The clause stated that failure to pay my bonus within 7 days allowed me to protect my proprietary systems. Monday morning arrived with a thick atmosphere of dread floating through the office corridors. Brenda from Human Resources kept finding excuses to stop by my desk, asking if the bonus issue was just a simple system glitch. I gave her short answers while continuing my work, knowing exactly what was coming next. By 10 in the morning, the lead attorney, Regina, sent an urgent meeting request to review my contract details immediately in the small conference room. Regina was already seated when I walked in, holding a printed copy of my agreement with a bright pink sticky note on page 7. She looked incredibly pale and did not even offer me any coffee or pleasantries. I sat down and placed my own folder on the table, waiting for her to speak first. She asked if I truly invoked the protection protocols, and I confirmed that the automated system lockdown began precisely at midnight. I explained that my protocols involved deep encryption and access restrictions on the entire infrastructure. Vance burst into the room a moment later, demanding to know what the emergency was while holding a protein shake. Regina handed him the document and explained that he legally signed away his control over the operational tools. His face completely emptied of color when he realized the company systems were already locked down and completely unresponsive. Vance stammered that he would call payroll to push the funds through immediately to fix the situation. I informed him that any payment made after invocation was explicitly defined as bribery in the contract language. He turned to Regina for help, but she just stared at the table because she knew my legal framework was completely airtight. The desperation in the room was rising rapidly as they realized they had zero leverage left. I pulled out a printed bank statement alongside internal accounting logs to prove my point. The records clearly showed that every other manager received their quarterly payouts on time, meaning my omission was completely intentional. Someone deliberately pulled my $20,000 from the budget allocation. Vance kept pacing around the small room, muttering that the system must have skipped me, but the data showed a much darker reality. They did not realize that I was always 10 steps ahead of their corporate games. My personal drive contained a full history of every single transaction, milestone approval, and resource shift within the firm. As I reviewed the hidden logs later that afternoon, I discovered a repeated pattern of 3 identical authorizations. The company was routing massive cash sums to executive accounts under the guise of fake project realignments. The most shocking discovery was a huge wire transfer sent to a consultant named D. Wellingham. There was no employee identification number, no tax documentation, and no actual performance evaluation attached to the name. Someone had used a temporary testing template to create a ghost employee profile to siphon money out of the business. The digital signature on the authorization belonged directly to Harrison, our frantic financial director. I was not a whistleblower by nature, But watching these men steal from the company while lying to my face crossed the line. From a public internet cafe using a highly secure email account, I sent a detailed message to the internal audit committee of the board. I provided the exact keywords and digital breadcrumbs required to locate the unauthorized executive payouts. The trap was officially set, and the pressure inside the office began to shift dramatically. By Thursday morning, the board called an emergency session in the main boardroom to address the operational crisis. I sat at the far end of the long mahogany table, completely calm and dressed in a sharp black blazer. Harrison looked like he had aged 10 years overnight, and Brenda was visibly shaking in her seat. Regina stood up and announced that the executive breach was confirmed, meaning Vance and Harrison faced immediate termination. One board member asked what the technical lockdown meant for their daily business survival. I explained that every single process, vendor automation, and cross-department synchronization system was watermarked under my personal intellectual property. If they attempted to clone or bypass my code, it would invalidate the data integrity and trigger immediate compliance flags. They were completely paralyzed because they could not run the business without my explicit authorization keys. Vance tried to corner me in the hallway after the meeting, begging me to settle the dispute quietly for cash. He offered to double the bonus if I just unlocked the systems, but I told him his time was completely up. The board accepted the immediate resignation of the financial director and removed Vance from his position before the afternoon ended. The corporate empire they built on manipulation and theft was crumbling to pieces. I presented my final terms in writing to the remaining board members the next morning. The demands included my full bonus, tripled contract penalties, and substantial licensing fees for their future use of my systems. I also informed them that I was officially leaving the company for good. They pleaded with me to stay, but I had absolutely no desire to remain in a toxic environment built on deception. Before walking out of the building for the last time, I delivered one final warning regarding their upcoming public stock offering. I told them that if my licensing dispute was not resolved immediately, their financial prospectus would be flagged for material risk. A legal battle over intellectual property would instantly destroy their entire valuation. I walked out into the crisp afternoon air, knowing I held the ultimate lever over their future.